Grind don't stop. 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 Grind don't stop.
Hello, welcome to Chewed Gum. It's Tuesday night, September 3rd. I am so happy that Alyssa and I are reunited. We are back in business together. Oh no, but Alyssa, we can't hear you. Oh no.
I muted
Oh, there-
myself.
Oh, good.
I
I
muted
was like,
myself.
oh God, we've lost her for
I
the
muted
night.
myself. Honestly, and this is going to be a little gross and TMI, and I'm so sorry, but
Can't wait.
earlier today, I had a late lunch, and it had like a lot of like kale and chickpeas and stuff, so I'm a little
Yes.
burpy. So I literally muted myself because I was like, if by any chance someone can hear this, even if it's a
Oh my
Morgan, I'm like,
God.
I just like don't need him to hear that, you know? So
It's
I'll
for
try to be
yourself.
polite.
Yeah.
You know,
Really, so sweet of you. Just girly things.
I try. Just girly things.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Well,
I'm so happy you're back. I'm so happy you're here. It literally, this brings me so much joy. I feel like, oh my God. It feels
wow,
like
how
the summer was
embarrassing.
crazy.
Sorry, I'm
Is
just
that
like
us?
playing. Yeah, that's us. I'm just playing it out loud. I'm like one of our callers where they like have us in the background. It's like, can you not?
I love it.
Okay,
I
sorry.
love
The
it.
summer was crazy. Yes, continue.
And now it finally feels like summer is over in a good way. Like now all of our routines are like settling back. Like I think we're both
Yes.
in the country for a little while and in
Yes.
our respective states for a little while. And it just feels nice to like get back into the old grind.
It's like back to school time.
I was just thinking that. I was like, it feels like back to school right now in the best way
Yeah.
possible. I need to like buy color coordinated binders about this.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, before we continue chatting for a moment, give us a call, 720-619-2288, and be very nice to our call screener because it's my favorite Amargan who is producing and call screening for us tonight. So
He's
shout out to
Our
Amargan.
sweetie pie.
He's the best. But okay,
Yes.
so last week, before we get to the callers, which we will, we already have some, and I promise we'll get to you guys. Tell me all about your adventures because I was just like watching your Instagram story, like, wow, first of all, you are a total babe. And then second of all, what are you even getting to do right now? It looked like a blast.
Okay, first of all, I would like this to be a record that we're setting that 2 minutes in, we already started flirting with each other. So like if anyone's been keeping
wow.
track, 2 minutes, that's pretty good.
To be fair, what they don't see is like pre-show as well. And then we like try to then we're like, okay, let's be serious. The show is starting. And then it ends up going, we get back to it. It is what it is. What can we do?
It's so true. It's so true. It's so true. So I went to the Beetlejuice premiere in London, and literally the whole time I just kept saying like, I don't really know why I'm here. Because it was just like so I went with my friend Tara.
Because you
who is
didn't
an
want to be
influencer.
there, or because you were just like curious why you specifically. Maybe
Like,
you
what
give
I
Beetlejuice fan vibes.
specifically. Well, so I got the invite through my friend Tara, but I had to be like approved to go, and because I was also going to be able to like create posts and whatever, I was approved to go, which was sick because it's a Warner Brothers film, and so Warner Brothers sent us, and so I flew first class. International first class. My seat was literally 3.
I
was like,
saw.
It was not even
Was
like
it
3B. It was just 3. I was like, oh,
is it the kind where you can lay down, like where you can put your little feet up and you
yes.
can oh, that's so nice.
And they served me meals. And I felt like the craziest part was when they served me soup, because what a crazy thing to eat on an airplane is just like hot soup. And I was just like floored. The dessert that they gave me
Oh my
was like
God.
plated. Like it had like, like the flight alone. I was like, I have never gave more just like poor
Aw.
unfortunate soul energy than I did on that flight, because I literally was like, this is crazy. I felt like everyone else in first class had done this a million times, and they could literally just like take a quick scan of the room and be like, ah, brokey, this is your first. And it was just, it was just so great. I loved it. And at the same time, for flying first class, especially international, is so expensive. And I personally don't think I would spend that kind of money to do that.
I
ever.
couldn't.
Even now, even having done it, like, I don't think that that's where I would ever want to spend
But
the money.
if they're paying for it for you, like,
oh, babe, if they're paying for it, who am I saying no, you know?
can somebody send Alyssa and I together on a first class, like, you know, long flight? First of all, I hate flying, so the fact that I'm saying that means a lot, because I would really rather take a ship for 7 nights, which I did, than be on a plane. But just imagine you and I in first class together. We would annoy everyone. Everyone would definitely know it was our first little travel experience together.
Well, we would also
become we would become best friends with the flight attendants too. Let's be clear about that.
So true. And also, we would need to be in the middle so that we only have a little divider between us. Otherwise, then you're like, there's like a wall, and like then I can't see you, and then we're not even flying together. Then we're not even doing it together. And then what's the point? We need only the divider in the middle, and I demand it to be down the whole time, and so that we can compare all of the things. I need to know exactly how your soup came. What was the temperature? Like, I need, it's like, it was that alone was the craziest experience. But then we got to see the movie. We got to go to a Q&A with the cast, and like the craziest thing was Winona Ryder was like,
oh, that's
literally.
Right.
She was like 2 feet from me, and I could not handle. Like, I don't really get starstruck very often, and that I love her so much. I have over there, which if I get up, the whole thing is going to shake, and I'm just not going to do that. But the Vogue cover from the year and month that I was born is Winona Ryder, and I just love her. I loved her in Heathers. I loved her in what else? Was this it? She was in Girl Interrupted. Yeah, Girl Interrupted. For a second, I got nervous. I was like, am I going to give like reference a movie that she's like literally not in, but she is. I love her, and she's so iconic. So like, I could not believe that I was in the same room as her. And it was like Michael Keaton. Cool. I saw Tim Burton in person. I walked past him.
Unreal.
It was all of it. I just kept saying like, I literally don't know why I'm here. But like, thank you so much.
Obviously, you're there because you are Alyssa Ljub, and that's who should be there. I'm so happy for you. I was watching it, and I was just like, she's living her best life, and I'm so excited. Also, definitely like opposite vibes of the Europe trip that I had just had. I'm like watching you in like the hottest outfits, and you're like at the pub, and you're like having the time of your life. There's celebrities. You're like being made these incredible cocktails, and then mine, I was like out in overalls and rubber boots in the middle of a field. Like, that's a good spot to pee, I think. But
no, that's a good spot to pee. But I love like your whole trip looked so beautiful and so peaceful, and so like what you need after the craziness of what your online presence is. Like, my online presence is not nearly as chaotic as yours is, and so I feel like that was an appropriate, you needed that.
It was really, I have zero complaints. It was so perfect. We need to do like a tour together sometime where we go do both of the vibes. I feel like that would be a blast.
How do we turn this show into a tour?
Oh, guys, can we do Chewed Gum Goes Around the World? That would be really fun if we went live from different places.
Oh, I feel like if we did that, we would also need we would need a crew to follow us and film us every day, like, and make like a documentary out of it, because I feel like just our day to day would be really fun.
Unhinged.
And we would just
absolutely unhinged.
100%.
It would be so good.
Because we've actually never met in person, the full like first
which is
12
crazy.
hours. psycho. The first 12 hours of us being together is just going to be me being literally this close to you at all times.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
It's just going to be the vibe.
Okay, well,
I
we need
feel
to make
it.
this happen, guys. That means we need this show to become extremely popular and successful.
We got to have it blow up.
Make sure you're liking the video right now. Subscribe, comment. Also, I just want to throw something extremely important out there. A very, very deeply important announcement. Very important to my heart. This is time to get very serious.
Yes.
September 6th, Jimmy Snow has a podcast.
Yeah, he does.
It's out. It's happening.
I'm so excited.
So, we might say that a few times throughout this show, just to remind you all, just to make sure you're aware.
Yes.
I do see we already have some callers coming in, but just a reminder, if you want to call in with your questions about deconstruction or sexuality, or if you want to please call and tell us why you believe in a God, because I would personally love to hear that, 720-619-2288, and we'll chat. But are you down to go ahead and take a call, and then maybe we chat again in between?
Yes, but before we do, I want to remind everyone to do their super chats too, if you would like to, for $5 or more. And so you can write in any questions that you maybe don't want to call in about, or you can give us ideas on how we can bring this on the road. And just, or how do we get this show to like really blow up? Like who's watching this that can tell us how to do that?
Yeah.
Make that the super chat.
Perfect.
Or whatever you would like, or literally whatever you would like. But anyways, just $5 or more, and then we'll read them at the end of the show. Okay, let's look at our little callsies, because we have a bunch that are in
you pick the
here
first
right
one.
now.
Whatever sounds interesting to you.
Oh man. Interesting. Okay. Do you have any preference?
I don't. They all look cool.
These are all really interesting calls. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Xavier and pull him into the call. Hi, Xavier.
Hi.
Hey,
how's
how
it
are
going?
you?
Hi, Chris.
Xavier, did we
hello?
chat? Did we chat the other night when I was on with Jimmy?
Yes.
And you called. Yay, I'm so glad. We had a nice chat. So I told Xavier to call anytime when she would come. So.
Oh, yay. Okay, great. I am so interested in what you wanted to call about. So do you want to give our callers an idea of what you would like to chat about today?
Yeah, so I've alluded it to, I've mentioned it in my other calls, and I saw in like the comments, people are like, Catholic cult, what? Yeah, my dad is a Catholic cult leader, and I kind of had to, first deconstruct and then escape. It was like it was a whole crazy thing. I'm still learning how to change my thought processes and be a free thinking person.
That's so interesting. I'm sure that process has been really stressful, and also I'm sure it's going to be like sort of a long-term thing to unpack. But I'd like to know more about what this community is like.
Yeah, so my dad's always been a narcissist his entire life. He always needed to be the center of attention. He always thought that he was super special. God called him to save souls and all of that. But when he met my stepmother, she kind of like she's from the Philippines, and she was into things like palm reading. So when we got together, it turned into, it's God, and I received prophecies from Jesus, and we can heal you. And it kind of went on from there. And they have a YouTube group page, and they do videos like every single day, like 3 times a day for hours, and they just sit there and talk and talk and talk. It's so boring. But my dad's thing was he would sell crosses. He'd make these crosses, and he'd have this elaborate story about how he's Batman. It's really weird.
That's wild.
And so, like, my dad's started with, like, when I was growing up, he was a Spider-Man fan, and he always loved Spider-Man. But then, like, a different healer preacher guy was like, oh, I'm sensing someone in the crowd who God has special plans for, who's associated with Batman. And my dad's like, oh, yeah, that's me. I love Batman. We're all like, what?
But it was Spider-Man.
Yeah, he was always a Spider-Man fan. Like, he has so many comics.
I have to tell
Spider-Man comics.
So Xavier, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I'll let you get back to it. I have to tell you already, it's funny. I think there's a lot of overlap between your life and mine. My parents also have an evangelical ministry. So they would think Catholics are not real Christians. But very similar things. And I don't know about your dad, but like my family, they believe in the prophetic. So they'll have these like streaming, I think they're kicked off of YouTube now. And so they're over on like Truth Social or something. And, you know, they'll like talk about what God's been telling them and all this stuff, like very much in that whole world. And it's really funny because it all kicked off with someone like prophesying over my dad. Like we were at church and they said there's somebody here who has, you know, something like that. And that's how my family got involved in ministry, was from that. So anyways, I just had to point that out. That's wild. And also to say kudos to you for getting out, because I know firsthand how hard it is. Like when a family is like that and they all believe in something that strong, you know, when it's like a family cause, it is so hard to be the person to break out of that. So my question for you would be, what is it that caused you to leave, and how did that go? Like, are you on good terms with your family, or what's that like?
No.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Sorry. Let's see. So it's weird because like for like most of my siblings, like as soon as they turned 18, they would leave and then just never went back. But I was a bit different, and I think it's just because I was genuine, and I really did want to believe, and I really did want to do good. And I left when I was 18 because I accidentally set part of the house on fire, just like the siding. It wasn't a big deal, but my parents were off on a quote unquote mission, you know, to go heal people, and I was left in charge, and I burnt the side of the house, and I was so anxious about it, and like I just knew that for the rest of my life, my dad would never let me live it down. I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave. I'm 18. I turned 18 like a month ago. My older brother, Alexander, said I can live with him. Let me go do that. And for a year, I tried to like, you know, figure myself out, and I ended up having some clashing with my brother. We fell out, didn't talk for like 5 years. It was the whole thing. My mom's not a great person either, but that's neither here nor there. But because I didn't have a good support system outside of my family, I ended up going back to my dad, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to be a priest. So I stayed there for a year until I could get into a seminary. And it was while I was in the seminary that, like, they were just so gross and awful people. These are supposed to be like God. So like I had gone in thinking, all right, I'm an awful, disgusting person. Like my parents would have me like anytime I did something wrong, I would have to bow in front of them, like with my face on the floor, and beg forgiveness. And they would have me repeat over and over that I'm a worm. I'm nothing but a worm. So it's like, I desperately wanted this God to like come in and fix me, you know. Then I go to the seminary, and they're all awful, awful people. And I'm like, okay, like, I think that's like when the first like crack started. And then I started distancing myself from the ideologies, and just through exposure to, like, because my parents wouldn't let us anywhere on the internet, but since I was away from my parents, I was able to be on the internet and like consume other ideas and not be stuck in this echo chamber.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a big part. Well, you talked about, leaving and then you missed I don't remember exactly how you worded it, but essentially you didn't have the community you needed. And so you went back to your dad, because that part is so important. And that's why I'm really grateful for like what the line does and recovering from religion, and that we have this deconstruction community online now, because we all need that. That's a huge part of breaking out of something like that. And I think once people are given the opportunity, if they have what they need in life, then they're able to start processing if what they've been believing, if the community they were a part of was actually healthy for them or not. And as you found out, it was not at all. So I'm really proud of you for getting out of that. And that's just wild. Did you finish seminary school, or did you completely drop out?
No, I completely dropped out.
A seminary dropout.
I dropped out. I just couldn't rationalize, and eventually that's what it came down to. Was I was following through with the idealistic things that the church was trying to preach but not practice, or my dad was preaching but not practicing, and they just didn't connect. They didn't. I'm like, this isn't right, So I believed in what they preached more than they did.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, Xavier, I so appreciate you calling. I don't know if you had any specific questions. I love what you shared so far, but we do have our other callers lining up, so we'll probably move on in just a second. But is there anything else you wanted to add on before we let you go?
I don't know. I love the line. I'm glad to be able to call in and share a little bit of my perspective, and I've been I've slowly been deconstructing, and I'm now a theist, and like people in the comments have been saying that's like basically the waiting room to being an atheist.
The waiting room.
I think I called myself a deist for like a day. So
well, we'll see if I can get there. I'm just being completely honest about what I genuinely believe, I can
that's
want
great.
to.
Yeah.
I can want to not believe it, but if I do, I'm not going to pretend I don't.
I think that's so great. You can't choose what you believe, but you can choose what you learn and what you expose yourself to, and how honest you are with your intellectual thought. So I think you're doing that, and I think that's so great.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for,
of course,
all of this that you guys do.
Awesome. Thanks, Xavier. Thanks so much for calling.
Xavier.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Also, I forgot to tell Xavier this really important thing. Jimmy Snow has a podcast, September 6th.
Yes.
Deeply important.
Indeed he does.
Speaking of schedule, I will share the announcements with you guys, which I write. I'm so funny. I don't like using technology if I don't have to. So I like go in and write everything down like a weirdo.
You cracked me up that you do that, because they put it in a chart and everything.
And then I sit there and I write it down.
And you write it down.
Well, guys, I'm struggling so hard just to have the chat, which I don't know why I have it open, because I can't pay attention to it. But I have like the chat open on my phone. So, and I don't know how to do this whole like multiple screen thing. I don't know. I'm here. I'm doing my thing. That's all I can do. So let me just read my notes, damn it. So
you crack me up, because like at this point you're a professional content creator, and I love that this is where you're at in this journey. I really am.
Professional is a very loose term.
I'm loving it.
It's a very loose term.
You create a crap ton of content, and I'm like literally blown away about the amount that you are able to produce. So
Thanks.
Anyway, sorry. That's a whole other thing.
It's because I just make it and I post it, and everyone was like, "What app do you edit in?" And I'm like, "What?" I just make the video and then I post it. I don't know.
But that's the best attitude to have. And honestly, that's like a large reason why. I mean, it's the content itself. And like, I think this is like such a tangent. We were about to go over the schedule, but like I think part of the reason why you continue to be so successful is because you're so vulnerable, so open. And like the things that you share, like even when they come up on mine, I see them and I'm like, like I get like a gas, because I'm like, oh my God, like it's just like you really say the damn thing. Like you're so brave. And I see every time your things come up, I'm like, damn, she really said it.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And you just like churn that shit out. Anyways, okay, so what else do we have going on?
My handy dandy notebook tells me that Wednesday, tomorrow, we have the hang up with Matt Delante and Durante Lamar. Then on Thursday, Takis with Arden and Luxander. I got to do the show with Arden last week. I missed you, obviously, but then I was excited because I haven't gotten to do a show with Arden in a long time. So
yeah.
And then, of course, very importantly, Friday, September 6th, mark your calendars. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. You would think I'm getting paid for every time I say that on the show today.
I wish we should get little bonuses.
Yeah, right?
10-cent bonuses every time we mention it.
For real. Although Jimmy is a dear friend, so I have no problems. Also, you should go watch. Jimmy kicked some ass on the show. Was this last night? No, Sunday night. I'm going to tell you about it after I read these announcements, actually, because it's relevant to this show. Sunday show, Aaron Ra and Paul Inns. I almost couldn't read my handwriting. And then AD Sunday show with Jimmy and Eric SS, which brings us to Monday Skep Talk with Aaron Ra and Natalie Reagan. And then Tuesday, Alyssa and I are back together again for Chewed Gum. And that's the announcements. Okay, so before we get to the other calls, I have to talk about this because I feel like Super Chats, they might want to talk about this too, especially if you watched it on Sunday night. So Sunday night, we had this caller, and he called in. His name, if you guys want to go watch that episode, it's the After Dark episode from this past Sunday night with Jimmy.
I'm going to pull it up and watch it when we're done with the show while I'm eating dinner.
Yay. Well, so we had a caller, Tim, and red flag number one, we take the call and he says hello he greets Jimmy, completely ignores me, like does not acknowledge my existence. And he calls Jimmy Jim. And Jimmy's like, yeah, actually it's Jimmy, not Jim. And they have a little back and forth and Jimmy's nice about it, but like, I'm already irritated because I know this game. And this guy proceeds to continue calling Jimmy Jim and just is condescending and not being honest. And, we're debating theism or something. I don't even barely remember. And when it's finally my turn to say something, because he was asking if we're agnostic or atheist or whatever. And he's like, well, let's see what Eve has to say. Finally acknowledging my existence. I say, I was like, first of all, because he said, thanks, Jim. And then let's find out what Eve. And I was like, why do you keep calling him Jim? Does that mean we can call you Timmy? Because he was Tim.
Right.
And he goes, honey, you're so pretty. You can call me whatever you want. And you better believe that Jimmy ripped him a new one for that and was
my God.
Instantly letting him know how sexist that was and inappropriate and all this stuff. And then the guy was just so annoying. Anyways, the rest of the conversation still sucked, whether or not he had said that. But that was so frustrating. I wish you had been there. I mean, I don't, because then you would have had to deal with it.
Oh my God.
So
I'm glad I wasn't there because there's no way that I couldn't. I would be so angry. Sometimes when I get like the angry that I would have gotten on that call, I definitely say things that like when I watch back, I'm like, I could have been a little more eloquent with that. There's no way I would have left that situation with any grace or.
Well, it was nice, honestly,
composure.
that Jimmy handled it because when it's you and I, we have to defend each other or defend ourselves. But it was really nice for once to just sit there, and I did go back and look at that clip and I looked pissed. But I just got to be quiet. And then I just finally said, cool, I'm not interested in what you think about how anybody looks, so can we just actually have the conversation at hand? And then we had it. But that's the kind of shit that's so frustrating. But what my whole point was, Jimmy pointed out, he was like, I was just complimenting her. And there was even people in the comments that are like, oh, it's just a compliment. You guys are being sensitive. It's not just a compliment. This is it's disguised. It's, first of all, it was very condescending. Don't call me a pet name when you've never spoken to me before, unless you're the waitress at Waffle House. Like, that's just not okay.
That's fair.
And it's not a compliment because Jimmy pointed out, he said, I am one of Eve's best friends and I would never talk like that to her. Like, we can compliment each other, but not like that. Like, that doesn't cut it. That's not a compliment. And it's similar, like, you and I can get on here and compliment each other because we have that relationship. We can be flirty with each other. It is not the same when people haven't established some sort of, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. It's just very frustrating when people call us sensitive for saying, oh, why don't you like the compliment? Well, I'm in the middle of working. If I'm working and we're having a debate and you interrupt me to say, you can say whatever you want, you're so pretty, honey, that's condescending what I do. That's condescending to me. That's just the whole thing. Anyways, that's my rant for you.
Like, it's also, what is the intention of you doing it that way? Did someone just yell?
It sounded like it. Say Beetlejuice 3 times.
I know. Okay, I think everything's fine. I hope maybe that was like a happy yell, but I don't really hear anything else.
It sounded like an
weird.
Android notification, but I don't know.
That was really weird. Okay, I think we're fine. Anyways, but yeah, what is the intention being had there? Because when people do things like that, where they're like, "Oh, honey, you can call me whatever because you're so beautiful," it's like, okay, you are trying. It feels like you're trying to establish some sort of dominance there, and we don't have that conversation. In fact, you're calling a show where I am the host, and so what are we doing here? What relationship are you actually trying to establish with me? And there's that weird icky familiarity, like forced familiarity that it also feels like you've already violated a boundary here, and you've already stepped over a line of comfort that everyone else seems to understand and you don't. So now I automatically don't trust you, and I feel like your intentions are gross, and it turns people off right away. So I don't really give a shit that it was a compliment because I don't know you like that, and I didn't ask for it. So
Totally, 100%. That's how it felt. Also, one more thing, sorry, because this is another thing that's been driving me up a wall. And I would love to hear, this is a great super chat prompt because I would love to hear what you guys think. I posted, sorry, we will get to the callers. I'm having fun venting to Alyssa because she's back and I can talk to her. But I did a brand deal, and it is like a really popular brand. Like a lot of people have this brand deal, so it's very normal. And you post a picture of yourself with it's a sex toy. And so I posted a picture. It's just like a very normal, like there's nothing sexual about it other than the sex toy. It's like it's an ad, So I'm holding this up, and I posted that, and it's a giveaway. So all the caption is something about like dismantle purity culture. Go over to the link, use my thing, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. So there's nothing like me implying that I'm doing anything, whatever. The comments, there were several comments. First of all, there were several comments from, it's so funny how it doesn't matter if somebody's atheist or Christians. There's misogynistic guys or guys that have whatever issues they have. Several comments from guys saying, oh, I was here because I liked the things you had to say, and I've been a follower for a long time, but now this shit is gross. I'm out of here. So it's like, because I do something that helps me actually be able to make free content, the kind that you like, and I make one post, and you can't handle the idea of a woman like advertising a sex toy. Now you're out of here. That's wild. Right. And then this is the part that pissed me off that I'd love to hear you guys' perspective on. There were several comments from guys, followers that I've seen like liking and commenting on my stuff for a couple of years now, leaving comments that say, give us a demo, show us how it works.
Oh, yeah.
And when I responded and said, hey, that's really inappropriate. And one of the times I said, ask your mom or sister first, because I was so done. Because I was like, cool, response. If you can say that to me, then go ask your mom or sister, like if it's an innocent thing.
Right.
And I got told that I don't have a sense of humor. I love
that wasn't a joke.
It's not a joke. Right. And I love dark humor. I love inappropriate humor. I hang out with a group of guys every Friday night where they say so many inappropriate things, and we have all these jokes. Not a single one of them would ever say that to me. None of them would ever say anything about me, basically asking me to perform a sex act for them. That would never happen. Not as a joke, not serious, nothing. Whether my boyfriend's there or not. And so it was crazy. Some of my followers unfollowed me because they were like, oh, you don't have a sense of humor. This isn't funny. And it's like, well, I'm working. And that was not an invitation. And it's just gross. And literally my boyfriend is sitting there and he can see these comments. So it's like, I know I know you guys don't actually think that's appropriate.
And also they would never say that to your face, ever. I think that they
Right.
also, people who comment things like that don't think that you're actually going to see it. And
Probably.
you like, obviously you did. Oh my God. I texted, by the way, my parents to be like, are we okay?
Oh yeah. Are they okay?
And my dad texted me and he said, all good. And he has a friend that when they call each other, they say, hey guy. And he texted me and he said, hey guy, which means what we all heard was him calling
saying,
his
"Hey,
friend
guy."
so enthusiastically that I heard it and we all heard it. Whatever.
That's amazing.
Anyway.
That's true
Anyway.
That's friendship. I love it.
That's so aggressive. Anyways, back to, but yeah, so I don't think that they think that you're going to see it. But on top of that, I think that it's also like whether you have a partner or not, like you are sexualizing me. And I was thinking about this actually on my car ride back home. Literally right before the show, I was listening to this woman. I think her last name is Vance, Dr. Emily Vance, but she has a podcast called Sex with Emily, and she's a sex therapist. And so she talks about sex all day long. And one of the things that I even struggle with is with posts like that. Like I have a bunch of terms now that are hidden. So like if you try to comment them, they won't come up
Nice.
because I can't. And so that's helped a lot. But she doesn't, I don't know if she has a similar process going on, but it's interesting because I don't really see her getting sexualized in the same way. And I don't really know like how that's possible. I don't know if she's just like after a while, her audience knows she doesn't respond to it or what it is. But I never listen to her or consume any of the content that I do that's about sex and sexuality and ever feel like aroused or like the person that's talking about sex, like I'm picturing them. So and I feel like when people do that, again, like you have breached a boundary. You have somehow everyone else can figure out that this is inappropriate and you can't. And that's a you problem because how are you not understanding how inappropriate that is? Like you are sexualizing me without my consent. You've taken something out of the context for yourself and sexualized me. And that's so unfair and so inappropriate.
Yeah. And you know what? People are going to do what they're going to do and they're going to think what they're going to think. Where to me it crosses the line is when you publicize it and you're commenting that and then you tell me that I don't have a sense of humor because I don't want you saying something to me that you wouldn't say to your mom or sister. Like, come on.
Right.
Anyways.
And like you can't control anyone's sexual fantasies, but to say that to someone's face, like again, what's the intention there?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It just feels not good. Not good at all. And like I said, I like humor. And I think there's a lot of humorous things that people can and did say to that post. And it's great. It helps my engagement. All of it helps my engagement. And then I can keep doing what I do. But holy shit, some people. And it's concerning to me, the guys that jumped in and started defending those dudes too. Really concerning. So
it's like, it's a joke for who? Because who's laughing? Just you? Then that's not a very good joke. You should try a different one, perhaps. And also, if there's so many people saying the same joke, you guys are all actually really unoriginal. Figure it out. Get funnier. No one's laughing except you actual weirdo. Anyway, we have some calls. Should we look at them?
I love it. Yes.
Okay. Okay, do you want to pick our next one? Because I picked that first one.
Yeah.
Hello.
I actually would like to talk to Maria. Let's see. Oh, hi, buddy. Maria, what's up? How are you? You're live on the line,
hey, hello,
on Chewed Gum on the line.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Of course. What do you want to talk about tonight? Do you have a question for us?
Well, I want to share a little rabbit hole that I went in recently. So just a little bit of context. I was listening to your show last week and thinking about all the awful education that I had in a pseudo-religious school. And all of a sudden, I remember this claim that one of my professors had about, like, people who cohabitate with their partners before marriage actually have higher rates of divorce. So I just remembered this randomly and thought, like, that's not possibly true. So I went to look it up, and first of all, let me say, I don't say that divorce is a bad thing. I don't think that marriage dissolution is necessarily bad, but I was just curious about it. And I did look it up, and I found a bunch of articles claiming it true. But funny enough, all of them went to the same report given by the Institute for Family Studies. And something that I was curious about, so basically all these articles were reporting that, cohabitation before marriage leads to higher rates of divorce. And one part of me was like, well, that could be explained by confounding factors like religions. Like, I guess that if someone is religious, they would be less likely to cohabitate before marriage, and also less likely to divorce just because their religion
Right.
openly discourages it.
Yeah, that's the.
And when I found this,
Oh, sorry. No, you keep going.
I'm monologuing. Basically, whenever I found this report, to which all the articles seem to like refer to, I was like, well, where is their analysis with other factors? And curiously enough, they don't mention religion in any of their report, except by a line saying like, oh, something that could help is like religious counseling before marriage or something like that. So that seems like very sus and suspicious to me.
It is. It is. Well,
I just wanted to hear your guys' opinion on this, and also, I don't know, share my experience here with this rabbit hole that I went.
I've heard of this. I think it was Jordan Peterson that was talking about this at one point, and I think I made a video responding to that because first of all, I really want Alyssa to talk to us about why Family Institute and all of that is not the vibe and what motivations they have for this sort of studies they do and why it's not reputable. Anyways, but before that, let's just pretend it's 100% accurate and true and whatever. Who is least likely, who's not allowed to live with each other before they get married? Religious people, most often. And therefore, they're also not going to get a divorce. Like you said, we don't have they didn't offer us that information, so we don't know where the skew is and why that's happening. But if I had to guess, that's something that's relevant and that's missing from that study that I would have loved to see is how many of those people that stayed married were religious, because that's a massive motivating factor. Most of those people that would believe you can't have sex before marriage also would believe that it's wrong to divorce, and they would end up staying together. So my whole point, which you already hit on, was that divorce is not indicative of whether or not a relationship was good or successful. It depends on what the goal of the relationship was. It depends on what happened. Sometimes relationships, they run its course and then people decide, yeah, you know what, I'm good. If anything, to me, what I hear is people saying, let's live together first, see if we want to be married. Okay, yeah, we do. Okay, now we don't want to be anymore, because they're actively, being either more or less intentional with the relationship, as opposed to being dogmatic, which is where we have to do it this way and that way, and then we have to stay together, and that's not indicative of a healthy relationship. So anyways, Alyssa.
Yeah. And
go ahead. And then
Maria,
Alyssa,
go ahead.
Yeah, to give credit to this report, something that they did talk about was about the intentionality before cohabitating, why they started cohabitating. Was it because they were wanted to spend more time together, or was it because it made sense financially? And it seems to have a trend of if couples would be like, oh, I want to spend more time with this person and we are planning to stay together for the long run, then they would have less rates of divorce, rather than, oh, we just slid into it because it made sense financially. We're trying to save money and things like that. Oh, I'm sorry. My dogs are starting to...
No, you're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've talked about the Institute of Family Studies before on the show, actually, because there was someone who had called in and was citing another study that they had done. And so I asked him, I knew. And it's so interesting because it's so often when I hear things like this being cited, people will say oh, well, there's research to support this. And I know it's bogus based on all of the other education that I have. Literally every single time it is rooted in something that the Institute of Family Studies put together. And so it's so interesting because it's this one source that people are all referencing because they're just so good at creating this super biased information. And so when I dug into the Institute of Family Studies with a previous caller, I looked at who was funding them, and it's conservative groups, it's religious groups, and I don't remember now where there was someone from like I can't remember if it was like an Ivy League type of professor vibe or something, or if it was, I don't know. It was someone who was analyzing some of the research that the Institute of Family Studies had conducted, and said that it is like one of the most biased, poorly researched, poorly put together studies. Like they're just trying to create a funnel of information under a web address that is .org, so people believe them. But if we dig a little bit deeper, you'll see like it's all they're just perpetuating the same garbage. And I can't understand the logic behind thinking that living with someone would make you have a less successful marriage. Like, how would that even, because surely you know more about a person from living with them than you do by just going on dates with them. So I can't even really understand like how did they even get there? How do you even create that like line of thought in a way that sounds logical? I just don't get it.
Yeah, no, that's why I went on like this rabbit hole, because I was like, well,
Yeah.
there should be more explanation than this. And there's a surprisingly low amount of studies on this, other than that report that I mentioned. Yeah, I agree. I look it up as well. I guess that I am not as good at finding out what the bias could be from this institution, because I didn't find like an information that was like overtly religious for them. But yeah, it seemed weird to me that only from this institution. And also like the mission statement in their webpage is kind of like, doesn't say that it's really religious motivated, but also it sounds kind of like it has like this weirdly conservative vibe to it.
You're so right. It's not super explicit, but the way they phrase it is so like it's like once you are looking for it, it's almost like you get those little like dog whistle terms in there that you're like, hold on, something is wrong. They also I don't remember if it's in their mission statement or if it's just like overall in the language that they use, but they basically are looking for promoting nuclear families with
household.
two-parent households, cisgender parents. Like it's that sort of vibe. Like that's what they're just perpetuating over there. It's like they just create this funnel of information. It's crazy. I also love how, Maria, you were thinking about something that you learned in school. Like you're just like in your drive, have a flashback, and you're like, hold on a second, that can't be right. And it like led you down this whole path.
Well, it was because as I said, I was like looking at your show and thinking, originally I was planning on calling to tell you about my experience growing up in like a very Catholic society in Guatemala, in my home country. And thinking about how the best sex education that I got was actually from my biology class, not any other classes. But I finally thought that would be more me monologuing, but that led me to like remember this part. That literally, I learned about this like supposedly cohabitation leading to more rates of divorce in my ethics class, who made us read a book from a bogus psychologist that promoted abstinence only and had like very awful books about it. So yeah, anyway, I was just like, I was very frustrated about the lack of further research into this topic, and also just wanted to share about how like so many articles seem to like amplify this voice of this one single report, because I found like 6 articles referencing that one.
I think it's just confirmation bias.
It's an agenda. They want to share something, because like I said, I think I originally heard about that study over on Christian TikTok, where, you know, Jordan
Uh-huh.
Peterson was talking about this. And my whole point back was, okay, people get divorced. Why that's not people deciding to end a
Right.
relationship when it's not good anymore. That's actually something that we should be happy about. I understand we want successful relationships and we should strive for those and everything, but living together or not living together, automatically you have me thinking, okay, this is a situation where based off of principle, people are not living in the same house because of optics or because of, you know, which always come down to some sort of religious thinking. It's religious thinking at the end of the day. If you're not, because what makes you go from living together, you're from not living together the day before you sign a piece of paper and now the day after you're living together? To me, that screams principles and religious thought and all of that. And as soon as you throw that in the mix and then you tell me, oh, but they didn't get a divorce, that means nothing. I unfortunately know people that are very dear to me, that are very religious, that are, you know, married for 30, 40 years. And I don't think those are, I mean, they're visibly unhealthy relationships and taking a toll on that person. Meanwhile, I've been divorced and I'm really happy and, you know, living my best life. So thanks to those divorces, you know, and I learned a lot and I'll keep learning throughout my life. But that's my main problem with, even if, like I said, that study just had no bias and it was just crystal clear, it still doesn't mean much to me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also
and I guess
like,
if sorry,
Maria, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to completely agree with you and say that I guess that even if it were unbiased, it would be just mean in some way that maybe we're not made to like stay together for that long, and divorce is actually not a bad outcome. But yeah, I'm sorry. I think that you continue. Sorry.
It's not a bad thing. And it's so funny because like over and over again, we have people who call here and like, and I'm sure we will see it everywhere, like Jordan Peterson and all these other places on social media too. There is something that the very conservative Christian folks find so incredibly offensive about being divorced. Like, I just don't understand like why they think that there is no fate worse than being divorced. Like, I just don't. And also, just like as a side note, why would anyone choose to vacuum in my household at this time while I do a live? It's literally like they can't just wait 2 hours. Anyway, the screaming, the vacuuming, like
I cannot listen to
the disrespect.
I cannot listen to the vacuum noise if that makes you feel better.
God, good. I'm glad. The other last thing I was going to say is it's also really interesting when people try and cite something like that as being like a cause for divorce, because relationships are so nuanced. They're so nuanced. So for you to be able to even want to draw the line of people who live together being more likely to divorce, it's like, yeah, I guess you can, maybe that can be useful information, but in reality, the amount of factors that go into a relationship being successful or not is just so vast that why would you want to boil it down to that one thing and say that this is going to be the thing that determines whether this works out for you or not? That alone feels silly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I guess that in that sense, it makes sense that there is not as much research into this particular question, because people that are not pushing an agenda kind of like not interested in studying this particular question, which, yeah, makes sense when put that way.
Yeah, well, and let's be clear, so much of the things about divorce that suck are from the stigma of it that's been created by this religious thought. A lot of the ways that even children suffer from their parents going through divorce comes down to stigma. And so that's why I am a big advocate for normalizing something normal. I don't think that I think it is sad when relationships end, especially if they end in a bad way, but things ending doesn't mean what happened wasn't great and they didn't have a good run and all of that. So it's just this idea that something has to be dogmatic and adhered to off of principle. That is a very religious way of thinking. And so it makes sense to me that that's why religious people are so hung up on it. Anyways,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much, Maria. I think this was so interesting, and I really appreciate you calling in with us. We've got a few more callers to get to, but this was great.
No, of course.
Thank you.
Let me thank you for taking my call and letting me
Of course.
vent my frustration about this topic with you.
We love
have
it.
a nice rest of the show.
Thank you so much, Maria. Have a good one.
Thank you, Maria.
You too.
I feel like I could go sit and have a coffee or drink or something with Maria and talk about this for a long time, because I fully agree. I love conversations like that. So, oh man.
That was awesome.
You ready to get through our next few callers before we get to my favorite part of the night, where we just goof off and read super chats? Just kidding. I like all of the parts of the show.
Also, someone in our chat, D Murphy, who is D a moderator?
Maybe. She's a friend of mine.
Okay, because I feel like I see D.
D is a moderator because we made her a moderator.
Okay.
D and Stacy run the Stacy's Mom podcast. They're friends of the line.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, because I've seen D before, so I like recognize their name. Anyways, D said 566 people are watching and only 172 people have liked the stream. Please like the stream. So yeah, please like the stream.
D is on point with that information.
D is on point.
How are Alyssa and I going to go on our world travels where we make really cringy videos the entire time if we don't have this video liked?
That's what I'm saying. Like the video so that one day we can go on a little tour and we can meet everyone. I'm like really now that idea is in my head, I want to do it so bad.
Oh man, that would be the best time ever. Shall I pick another?
Anyway.
Are you scolding your family for vacuum cleaning?
No, I was reading the chat now.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, yes. Let's pick our next call. What do you have your eye on?
Why don't you pick? We'll just go back and forth. You pick this one, and then I'll pick the next one like we've been doing.
Okay. I'm curious about I'm gonna pull Scott in because I feel like we haven't had a conversation like this in a little while.
Let's do it.
Scott, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Scott. You're live on Chewed Gum with Alyssa and Eve. What do you want to ask us tonight?
Yeah, so I had actually kind of two questions, but if we only have time for one, that's totally fine. I think my first question is more for Eve. I was looking at one of the other, live things that y'all did, and I think you had mentioned kind of in the back and forth discussion with, I think it was a theist, something about that you don't believe in free will. Does that sound familiar, or am I thinking of maybe another host who?
No, that's true.
Okay.
I mean, I lean towards thinking that free will doesn't exist. I don't know that I would word it as, I'm being like really nitpicky here. I don't think I would word it as as I believe free will doesn't exist. I don't know that I believe that it does.
That's so interesting.
You're not
I want to know why you
that it does.
Yeah. I mean, it's very complex. I think that science is still trying to figure that out fully as well. But to me, it seems less and less evident that we have free will.
I've never thought about that.
I hadn't either, actually. That's why I was surprised. So I come from like an evangelical Christian background, and I deconstructed, a couple of years back, but I was just surprised to hear you say that, because I had always thought, from my background, and something I never really thought about outside of that was, well, if we didn't have free will, it was because of some supernatural being. And so if I don't believe that exists anymore, then like I would assume we do have free will. So it was surprising to hear that from you. And I just wanted to like learn a little bit more about that, or like resources maybe that you've used to dive into that topic, since it sounds like you're a little bit unsure on it.
Right. So for me, the way I formed my opinions, or here, very weak lack of opinion, although I don't know, it's pretty, I don't know. I would say I'm pretty confident free will doesn't exist. Now I'm like backtracking, going all over, but some of the things that I went and where I learned is do whatever works for you, whether it's a book or YouTube videos or both. There's podcasts out there, but learn about determinism. And I'm looking at my little like notes here that I actually have like a free will note. And then neuroscience, those have been the most compelling arguments for me against free will have actually come from neuroscientists. And quantum mechanics, which is where I start like losing my mind because it's so hard for me to even listen to that because I'm like, I have to go and Google every word being said in the sentences. But yeah, so I think things point to, if you think about it, the free will that's talked about in the Bible, or it's pause, take that back. Free will is not talked about in the Bible. Let's point that out. The free will that's talked about amongst evangelicals, which if you ask them where it is in the Bible, they don't, well, they're like, well, this story and this one, you know, points that out. You're not going to find any Bible verse that's like, and the reason you go to hell is because of free will. You know, that doesn't, free will is not mentioned in the Bible. But that's a different kind of free will that they're even talking about there. But it makes zero sense. First of all, did I choose to be born? No. So like there's already my free will from this God that supposedly cares so much about me having choice that he would allow me to be suffering and abused for years. You know, that's out the window. And there's so many other arguments against the free will that's talked about with God. For example, if a God knows everything, if you have an all-knowing God, then already everything's determined because that God has created this universe. If this God created the universe, knowing everything that would happen when he created it, then that's the same as him choosing it. So it's just the arguments for that evangelical, like Christian free will are just, they fall apart so quickly. To me, they're not fully formed already. But as far as like actual free will, I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm going to say something stupid. So I'm telling you to go read about determinism, to go listen to what neuroscientists are saying about free will. There was just something recently in the news about free will and our understanding of it. So that's how I learned about these things. I need to get to a point where I can explain it better, but I'm at least in a position where I'm able to say, yeah, it seems pretty clear that free will just doesn't exist.
I can't wait to dig into that because I'm
Gotcha.
I've never like heard that. Well, I've never heard anyone talk about free will not existing outside of the religious scope. Like, Scott, I'm in a similar place to you where like I've never thought of it that way. And so you're blowing my mind over here.
Well,
on this side
to me,
of the split screen.
I'm gonna just be really vague so that I don't say something incorrect. But one of the most convincing things to me was I was learning about how we are coming closer and closer to understanding exactly how the brain works and with decision making and all of that. And it seems that we actually make decisions oftentimes before we're conscious of them. So the things we're doing, that's happening before our brain is even conscious of them. There's something else going on with those. So that is so fascinating to me. Like even just like movements, like doing this, there's so many things we can already see that playing out. Like I'm talking with my hands here and I'm clearly not thinking about it. But before my brain can even know or consider doing that, when it comes to even like actual thought choices, not just what I'm doing physically, we are finding that we're not conscious of those before the decision is made. So that's so wild to me.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So if our brain is deciding before we are even aware, if our brain is deciding before we're even aware that our brain is deciding something, can you say that we have free will? I don't think so.
That gives me anxiety.
Yeah, well, that's the same boat as Alyssa was saying, where I'm like, I had never thought about that outside of the religious context. Once I gave that up, I was like, well, I guess we all do have free will. But I figured, just your brief summary of the arguments, I was kind of where I thought it was going to be, where it's like looking at neuroscience and, chemical reactions in the brain and all kinds of things like that.
Right.
That, are really kind of making the decision for us.
There's all of that. And then if you think
like
about what...
Oh,
no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, because I haven't even really thought of the ramifications of what that would mean for my own life. But I'm just thinking, for an example, like, since you're kind of in this position where you feel like it's pretty likely that we don't have free will, how does it impact, say, like the way that you think about your relationship with family or significant others or things like that? I'm just kind of curious to see how that's impacted your worldview on how you.
I don't think it really has. I mean, other than I don't let it impact how if I started thinking like, oh, I can't control anything, so I can just do whatever the fuck and not control, there's no free will. Like, that's obviously not smart. But it helps me to have a little bit more grace, I guess, for lack of a better word, for other people, to just even the idea of like the way that you grow up, the parents that you have or don't have, the education you have or don't have, what you have access to, the amount of affection you get between certain months as a newborn, all impact decisions you're going to make years and years down the road. And so I think it's important to be aware of those things. Do I let it dictate my own choices that I guess I pretend I have? No. It's kind of like with nihilism. Like, I can acknowledge that nothing matters, but the way I go with that is that, and thus I get to decide what matters. And it's a lot of things and I get to act that way. So I think it's one of those things, just, you're going to go crazy if you overthink it. But I think it helps to be aware of, hey, people that behave this way, there's a lot that went into that. And it's not necessarily something, I don't ever want to remove the responsibility off of a person or consequences or anything like that. But I think it helps me mentally to have that grasp on things. Because like you said, the way we grew up with this like evangelical idea of free will, well, you're sending yourself to hell. That's just ridiculous. That's like, oh, that addict is just choosing to be an addict. I understand there's responsibility that needs to be taken when people are making choices that are harming others. But it's also important to acknowledge what went into things that made that person who they are today. So I don't know if that explains it, but that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I appreciate it. I hadn't really been exposed to that. So when I heard you mention it, I was like, oh, I want to hear what she's digging into. So
it's really cool to go learn about.
Chat, so I'll check those out.
Yeah, do it. People will probably have actual links for you and videos. I just happen to come across that stuff as I go. And before, when I really dove into it, it's been years now. So I'm sure there's been updated information. So yeah, whatever people are sending your way, go look at that. But yeah, thanks so much for calling. I really appreciate it. That's such an interesting angle. And please call back next week with whatever your second question was. That would be great.
Yeah. Happy to do that. Appreciate the advice.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye.
Wow, that was so interesting. That will break my brain.
I mean, it is a little anxiety inducing. But it's so interesting.
I was sitting here and I was thinking, like, how are they even measuring when you had a thought? Because then you're thinking about if you had the thought. So
yeah, you have to
stressing
the
me
neuroscience
out.
Of it will really blow your mind. You should go read about it and then explain it to me. That would be great.
It's going to be so bad. I have a lot of faith in my ability to process things, and I'm not feeling particularly confident about that, because that feels, it's like stressing me out to even think about. But okay, we have 3 more calls, and I feel like we should try and...
Yeah, we'll get through these calls quickly. So if you guys can have whatever your question is ready and pretty succinct. If it's a longer thing, we might ask you to save it for next week, just because we're getting to the end of the show and we want to have time to enjoy my favorite thing, which is all the hilarious stuff you guys say in your super chats, which get those in now if you want us to read them at the end of the show, $5 or more, and we'll read those super chats.
Yes.
But sorry, I interrupted you, Alyssa. What were you saying?
I don't even remember. Do you have a preference of who you'd like?
Sorry, it sounds like something's like trying to get out of my air vent.
A lot of weird noises today.
Really interesting. It's not even October
What's
yet.
happening? I know.
Oh man, spooky
season is around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm going to start decorating for Halloween, so I think next week, by next week, this will probably look spooky.
I love it. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm going to take this first call now that we said we're going to go fast. I hope that I'm going to pronounce his name right. Do you think it's Zico?
Wait, I think it's Chico.
Chico. Wow. Sorry, everybody. Homeschool.
Yes, hello.
Hi,
It is
Chico. How
Chico,
are
yeah.
you? Oh, it says it right there. Thank you. If I had just read the note, I'm so sorry. How are you, Chico?
It's okay. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to be succinct, so if you want, I can call back another time. I'll see if I can try it.
If you think that you can, keep it to a couple minutes, like just to brief us on what it is you wanted to talk about, and then we can try to guide the call. And then if we want to have a part 2 for next week, then let's do that.
Yeah, the reason is I just wanted to give a bit of background, because I see you make a difference between atheist callers and theist callers. I'm many generations atheist. I've never had a religious. So my mother is Catholic, but I mean, I've seen her in church once. She's never spoken to me about religion. She just calls herself Catholic, so more culturally, let's say. And on my mother's side, they are quite religious, but they live in Colombia. My mother's Colombian. And I'm saying, speak up, Chico. I need to speak louder, do I?
Sorry, I know it's late there, so it's like late night vibes.
I'm keeping my voice down. On my mother's side, I even have a preacher in the family, a charismatic evangelist preacher, but they've never had any influence on me because I've never lived over there. On this side of the family, my father's side, my father's an atheist. My grandfather was. My grandmother, all my uncles and aunts, and even the way my father used to say it is a practicing atheist. So he used to proselytize, try and have discussions with people and set up debates and things like that about atheism, which is pretty much what you two do and what the line does.
Yeah.
But my father died in July, and we were very close. I mean, speaking every day. I'm not too well, so I depended on him for many things. And I've always been sorry. I used to also do the thing that my father did about. I was a student unionist. I've been in politics for most of my life. And when I moved to Britain from Spain, because I'm from both countries, I stopped the atheist angle, mainly because in Spain we have a very strong Catholic church. 99% of my friends were baptized. Went to their communions, first communions, confirmations, the whole thing. I'm not even baptized, which was very unusual. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But when I moved to Britain, the idea of pushing atheism felt wrong because London is multicultural, and Muslims, Jews, and other religions are usually attacked, and religions use an excuse to attack them. So I didn't want to add to the right-wing bashing of religious minorities, so I stopped it. But now it's come back with a vengeance. Now I'm in the middle here of I want to be wrong. I've spoken about religious trauma before, but I've never felt that I would feel it. I've had especially Muslim friends say how easy it is that I don't have to follow all these rules and pray 5 times a day and I can eat bacon and drink. I find it's incredibly difficult at this moment to think that I'm never seeing him again.
Yeah.
And I find myself doubting for the first time in my life. Not for any specific organized religion. I would never believe any of the ones that I read, because I used to study them to be able to speak against them. But something. It's just an unusual feeling that I didn't know existed. So I just thought I'd call in and speak about it
Yeah.
here, because even atheists, multi-generation atheists, we've been traumatized by the religious belief that permeates everything in society.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry that you lost your dad, and he sounds like he was a really cool guy that we would have loved to talk to. And I also really appreciate you being vulnerable with that emotion that you're going through, that process, because I think as somebody, I grew up religious, so I totally identify with that feeling. I have lost loved ones, even recently, someone in the community, and I would love the idea that I'm going to see him again. That would be really great. So I fully empathize with that feeling. And I do think that is something that is not talked about enough, because we can be intellectually honest and we can say, well, yeah, but we know most likely there's no afterlife. But how does that help the actual situation when somebody is experiencing that loss and that grief? That has to be acknowledged and talked about and not shamed, because I think it is very natural. It's one of the most normal things in the world to not be able to fully process the fact that we aren't going to see someone again. That it doesn't make sense. I can't. Second to me not existing, it is so hard to come to terms with. I still think that I'm just not going to see my friend because he's just busy. So he's still out there somewhere and I'm just not seeing him, And then there's little things that happen where I'm like, shit, he's gone. There's nothing I can do about it. So I think those are such normal things, and they suck, and it hurts so bad, and it has to be talked about more. I also know Recovering from Religion, they offer a lot of resources for stuff like this. And I think somebody in the chat, please tell me, I believe that there's even a resource for grieving and for having lost a loved one that specifically addresses this sort of thought process and this sort of trauma. You said it exactly right. It's a religious trauma.
Yeah, and there's a lot of support in the chat as well, and I think that sharing something like this in this community is really important for a lot of people. It's important for the people who are watching who might not be actively communicating in the community, but need to hear your experience and know that they're not alone in that. And so it's massive that you are able to call in and share that. And I also want to express my condolences for your loss. I can't imagine how tough that is to go through. And to now also be processing all of this on top of the actual loss itself. But I think this is the perfect place to share this, because on top of just the people in our chat that are wanting to be supportive to you, I know that they'll be able to share some resources. And I know that even in like our Patreon, we have a Discord chat where you can also find some more kind of community in all of that too, if that's something that you would be interested in joining.
Also, people in chat said Grief Beyond Belief.
Yes, thank you.
As well as RFR.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's what I was thinking of. It's Grief Beyond Belief. And I've heard that they're a really amazing resource for this sort of thing. And all that to say, this is still your own personal journey, which is why those resources are important for individuals, because it's not going to be like anybody else's thing. There was nobody else that had the kind of relationship with your father that you had. And so only you, unfortunately, are going to know what that grief feels like at the end of the day. And I think it's just important to have that acknowledged, and for you to acknowledge it and know that it is, it's love. This is him living on, is you feeling this way, honestly.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. Also, I'm lucky enough to be in a place where we have, the National Health Service. Seeking therapy. A bit of a waiting list, but that's fine. But yes, thank you. I just thought that I had these thoughts bottling up in me, and I only discovered your program not long ago, so I thought it might be a good place to put it, about how religion is damaging in ways that sometimes we don't think about, and not only to people who are trapped in it, but those of us who thought that we weren't. just like the patriarchy can affect men negatively, or white supremacy can affect white people as well. I think that we should look at this too, and why we should. I don't know. I don't want to sound too radical. Sorry.
No, I think you're totally right. And to me, what it's really indicative of is a normal thought pattern that humans fall into, which explains how religion has come to be. You know, you lose somebody, you want to believe you're going to see them again. And I think we formed these stories and all of that. And then this is the failure of religion. It became a coping mechanism instead of, let's learn how to actually grieve. Let's be community. Let's be there for each other. Let's learn how to have good relationship with people while they're here. And so that's where the religious trauma component comes in, is that we've had thousands of years to get our shit together and start figuring this out. And we've been held back by these religious stories. And in some ways they helped us get to certain points, but now let's grow up. Let's learn how to grieve. Let's learn how to be there for each other. And I'm not saying this to you, not for you to grow up, but you know what I'm saying? Like this religious story, we don't need it anymore. We need actual concrete things. We need support. We need sympathy and empathy and care, not just these false coping mechanisms. So I think you're completely right. It doesn't matter who you are in a world where religion is so predominant and so easily comes in to try to fill in these gaps for us. It's going to impact anyone, even somebody like you who was lucky enough, in my perspective, to have grown up without religion.
Okay, thank you. I don't
Thanks so
want to
much,
take up more of your time.
No, I really appreciate you calling, and you're welcome to call back anytime. And so sorry again about your dad. Sending you lots of love and all the best from us here on the line.
Thank you.
Bye, Chico. Oh.
Thank you to everyone in the chat who is like giving so much support to Chico and also providing so many resources. Like a lot of these I have not ever been exposed to before, like Grief Beyond Belief that's great. And there's a bunch more people recommending books and podcasts and like lots of really great stuff in there. So I appreciate everyone always being so supportive, but especially in moments like that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, should we take our last caller before we head on?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Becca. Hey, Becca, how are you? What's your question for us tonight?
Hey. Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
We're good. We're hanging.
Awesome. All right, so I'll try to keep this as quick as possible. There's like a little, basically I'm wondering if you guys know of any, like, I would guess evangelical stances on online dating based on a recent conversation I had with a kind of casual friend where I mentioned that I met my current boyfriend online. And when I mentioned it, the entire tone of the conversation shifted to be, and I'm more or less quoting here, you need to be careful because that's how the devil preys on people with good hearts who are close to God like you.
Oh, God. Wow.
The devil is on the dating sites. I can't completely disagree with that at all times, but in this sense, I
do. Like she also asked, is he religious? And I was kind of like, well, no, but neither am I. So like, it's okay.
Right.
And then she kind of changed her whole tone of everything, but it was just a weird interaction. And I was wondering if this is like a one-off weird situation or there's like a known.
I can give you a little insight real quick. And then Alyssa, our relationship queen, can say something that actually matters. So I grew up, in the evangelical world, and I was taught that you shouldn't date at all. That if you do date, it should be to get married. You're like, the whole courting thing. And so we didn't really have dating apps at the time, but those would have been forbidden for sure. And once they came out, I was already married and there was a massive stigma surrounding them. But the thing was, the idea was that you're supposed to hear from God about this person. And so there was something, I remember like hearing people talk about this. It was considered like a corruption. It was considered to be trying to do God's work for him by like getting on these dating apps. Cause they also came out with this Christian one. And I remember there was a lot of like Christian mingle, I think is what it was. And they were like, you know, that's not right because that's, you know, messing with God's plan. And I don't know, just silly stuff like that. So I definitely think there is an like overall stigma around that, to the point that my least favorite story, even though it's actually very cute, is the story of how my partner and I met, because we met on a dating app, because I was on a dating app one time in my entire life for 24 hours. And he's the only date I went on from that. Yeah. So I have to like shout out to the dating apps, but I also like hate it, because I think part of me still like feels that stigma of like, oh, dating apps are bad. So to the, like, I wasn't even on there in a serious way. Some of my friends sat there and made a profile for me after 2 cocktails. And I was like, looking like, oh God, this is terrible. And then there was one and I was like, wait a second. And now here we are. Here we are. And I'm in his house right now. So it was successful. But that's just an anecdote that it is like considered a stigma for sure.
Yeah. And what you said kind of led to something else you said of like, you know, you need to do it the old fashioned way and not try to take the easy way out. And I pointed out that like he lives a decent drive away. We wouldn't, you guys there?
Oh yeah, we're listening.
Okay. Sorry. I heard a weird noise on my end, I guess. He lives a decent way away, so we wouldn't have met in like our normal day-to-day lives. And he goes, well, then it's probably not meant to be. And I'm like, okay, gonna just walk past that.
That's so wild.
Yikes. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. It's like superstition.
And like I think the best and worst thing that ever happened to dating is that we have these apps, and it's because the great thing about it is, like you said, this is a person that you live far enough away from. You would not have met this person had you not had access to the app. Like I met my ex because we did a TV show together, and I met my current boyfriend actually just like through mutual friends. And there's the way that those happened are also really unconventional. Actually, I guess through mutual friends is not really that unconventional. But dating apps are great because they bring the whole, like your whole, a 50-mile radius into your hand, into your living room. And that's amazing because now you have access to all of these wonderful people. And I remember when my nonna, my grandma, would tell me about like how they would date in Italy, where her town literally had like a couple hundred people in it. And it was like, these people literally just live on the block. Like they just live in the neighborhood. And it's like, I want to marry that one. And then they just do. And that's wild because it's like, but you had no choices. Now we're so lucky that we get to have all of these choices. And at the same time, I think it also is part of the reason why people have a hard time like choosing one partner or feeling satisfied with one partner for an extended period of time, which, you know, I go back and forth with because I don't really know that that's what human beings are meant to do anyway. But it creates a new challenge that we're now trying to navigate. But anyways, so dating apps are interesting because I think they are kind of like the best and worst thing we've ever done. And at the same time, like I know so many people who have met wonderful, incredible people on dating apps, and they simply would not have met had that not been the way that they found each other. And it just is bringing people together. That's all it's doing, is creating an opportunity, an avenue for you to find people that you wouldn't have found before.
Yeah. And another thing to point out about the whole apps thing, I think if somebody's on those to find a serious relationship, whatever that means for them, if they're looking for like long-term relationship, typically you're interested in if you're going to be compatible or not. And so you're filling out these things on the app. That's how my partner and I connected, is that there was some very specific things we both had in our profiles that we really connected over. And we just had lots of long, serious conversations. I say we interrogated each other basically, where we were able to figure out that we were compatible. Like our first few dates, anybody watching would have thought like that we were both interviewing each other for a job, because that's exactly what it was. God. There was no flirting. There was it was just like, cool. So when you're angry, what do you do? And well, you know, like that was what was happening. So you know, there's this thing
That's
where it
so
prioritizes compatibility because you can look and see. Like, to me, it was really important. The why his profile stood out, besides the fact that he's very handsome, is that it said agnostic, and then it said moderate, and which in Tennessee, I was like, well, wow, we're so progressive. But then I saw that he was from Finland, and I was like, oh, moderate, he's like a fucking leftist, and agnostic, he's definitely an anti-theist. So, you know, which all ended up being true. So, you know, that the compatibility factor was huge versus the Christian marriages that I had as a young girl, because I wasn't even a freaking real, I mean, I was 19, but anyways, those relationships, nobody was teaching me about compatibility. That had nothing to do with anything. It was, what does God want you to do? Is that the person God has in your life? So I also think another reason that religious people have a problem with those is because they're taking science into account instead of like, well, these feelings and emotions, and is it what God wants? Because you can't be so easily manipulated and controlled if you're going with compatibility versus, you know, emotion and this dogma and this hierarchy. So anyways, that was a long story again, but.
No, that totally makes sense.
Also, okay, so I don't
Oh,
remember if I caught it or not. So did you say that this is now your boyfriend or just somebody you're dating? Because now I'm just being nosy and gossiping.
Oh, no, we've been together for several months now.
Oh, congrats. I hope you're having fun. That's awesome.
I am, yeah. No, it's funny. I texted
That's
him
awesome.
about it right after it happened. I was like, remind me to tell you about how you're the devil later.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What?
That's wild.
That
And
is so funny.
just the idea that it has to be the one and that you could be deceived and somehow pick the wrong one. That's just not a thing.
Yeah.
Like the wrong one would be, you know, if you end up getting severely mistreated or abused or something, like obviously that nobody wants that. But otherwise, you know, dating is like you're learning about yourself, you're learning about other people, and that there's no room for that in religion because then they can't keep that hierarchy of men, women, children, God at the very top, you know? So that's, I think this is such an interesting topic too. I love our callers. You guys always have the most interesting things to talk about, but
I know.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
that
you so
shared
much,
that.
Becca.
That was so funny.
Did you have
Yeah,
anything else you wanted to add, Becca?
Not particularly. Like, I just wanted to say thank you because, like, logically, I knew this. I just needed the reassurance, I think, because it kind of threw me
got
for a
you.
loop. So
We
thank
got you, girl, and we're excited for you, and feel free to call back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye, Becca.
You too. Bye, Becca. That's so funny.
It's so funny because the last few shows I've done have been like the AD show, I guess, after like the Sunday show where we're just like arguing and it's serious. And I love doing the show with Jimmy, and then I do it with Seth. But the vibes are completely different when it's just like we're talking about dating and we're talking about, you know, it's so funny because I always get on the show like ready to like, you know, debate somebody about the existence of God, which is fun when that happens. But then it's like, no matter what, this is always a good time. So I love all of you guys.
When people ask you about this live show, excuse me, how do you describe the people who call? Like, do you have any calls that you specifically bring up? Because I have one that I bring up every time. I want to know if it's the same one that you bring up.
I don't know. Well, lately I've been bringing up that freaking, because I think it just made me so mad that was my last experience being on Chewed Gum, was when I was in that, I just like remember being in that dark cabin and this fly's landing on me and this freaking dude named Jake is telling me that women need to lower their standards. And I like, that's pretty bad.
That's a good one.
The guy, what's his, St. Michael,
that's the one I bring up all the time.
Yeah.
The helicopter and the sweater.
That whole episode was really intense. Because then there's that guy at the end that got so mad at us. I think Amargan ended up hanging up on him. Thank you, Amargan. Because he was being so condescending. It was just
well, because he was like laughing. Oh, Amargan banned Jake.
Amargan banned Jake. Yes, that's why Amargan is my favorite.
That was the guy I think that kept like laughing as he was talking to us, and I lost my shit at that. I was like,
that was the first time I saw you mad.
Literally, I was like, you better stop laughing right now because I'll lose. I literally was like, I've been in therapy for too long for me to lose my shit over that. But I was close.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Should we do super chats?
Wild. Let's do super chats. Yes.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Noldy's
now you
getting
guys can
it.
see my Battle Beast shirt. If you guys don't know Battle Beast, they're this band in Finland, but Nora is the lead singer and she's so badass. I would love to have her on the show sometime. But she's really cool. Wait, is she on this? No, she's not. But you guys should go look them up because they're so cool and she's a feminist icon in my mind.
I feel like
okay,
did you
sorry.
post her recently or like post the band
She
recently?
well, we were hanging out and stuff. Maybe she's got horns, like Maleficent horns, that are so freaking cool. But she's just
I feel like I
she's
saw
awesome.
her recently. Okay,
Maybe.
we'll have to take a look.
$5 from William Mattis. We figure out how to say this and then we keep saying it wrong. Would you rather 10 mil? Mattis, okay. Would you rather 10 mil or the ability to eat anything and never gain any negative effect? I already live my life that way, so I definitely want 10 mil. I'm like actively trying to gain weight at all times. I mean, the most negative thing that happened, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I want to take this back because I just get full really easily. So I just eat little bits all day. And I think that's why I don't gain weight. And I really do want to gain. Now I'm torn. But I feel like if I had $10 million, then I could use that to somehow, like I'd hire a personal trainer that would
just get like a
take my butt.
BBL.
I would look like a toothpick with like marshmallows or something. It would not.
Y'all ever seen a queen ant? You know how like the queen ant has a giant ass? That would be you. This is my favorite part of the show where we're just
Mine
so
too.
not serious.
Not
Okay,
serious.
I
And get
also-
so serious.
Yes,
But what would
I
you do?
take the
What would
10
you do?
mil. 10 mil so easily
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I feel like I feel like I worked so hard to have a positive relationship with food and I really never like just if I want to eat something, I will just eat it. It's just like if I want it, I'll eat it. And my biggest thing is I always want to make sure that I'm eating vegetables and enough protein in a day because I don't eat like meat. So as long as I'm doing those things, I'll eat whatever else. And I'm very lucky and blessed that I don't have like, you know, any issues doing that as of now. But I would so take the 10 mil just to not have to worry about how I make money anymore would just be phenomenal.
The money. We'll take the money. Oh my God. That's how we could finally go on our trip.
And then we'll go on tour.
It'd be amazing. We would be like, guys, we're millionaires. So therefore we are taking chewed gum on a world tour.
Literally, it's like you know that
I would do it.
You know that meme that's like, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs, and there would just be like a billboard of chewed gum on tour.
Times Square would be just our like faces and clips of us like telling guys to stop laughing at us and that it's not funny. And then us proceeding to say the most unhinged, insane stuff to each other that we would never be okay with somebody else saying to us.
Correct. I love it.
That's why context matters.
Exactly. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. The gum on her shoes world tour.
That's amazing.
Spice World movie. Oh wait, one-third Spice World movie. 1/3 band tour. 1/3 the feminist jackass. Do some live shows. Maybe troll Matt Walsh IRL. That's so funny. Also, Spice World movie is like such an incredible reference.
Saw it. I wasn't allowed to, and I had the Barbies and then I had to burn them because it was found out and they had demons. It was really sad. Yeah, it wasn't. Wait, actually, I will say, my mom didn't make me burn them. My friend's mom made me burn them, and I was like, "Well, she is a good Christian,
and where
so
the
she
hell
must
does
know."
she get off? That's crazy.
Somewhere with Jesus.
Oh my God. Ugh. I think Ginger Spice was the first time I had a crush on a woman when I reflected on it recently.
Ginger was my favorite too. So
I loved her.
Go figure.
I loved her.
$5 from William Mattis. Mega jealous of your majestic makeup skills. Also, can y'all confirm the rumors of Jimmy having a podcast on September 6th? The world must know. Jimmy Snow does in fact have a podcast, and the first episode is September 6th. Also, yes, Alyssa's makeup. Can you give us like a close up because your
God.
makeup is just like blowing my mind today.
I'm telling you, it's because I did thicker eyeliner than normal.
But it looks so good. It's the choices that you made with the like the lip, the like natural lip, and then it's working.
And
Me, on the other
lashes.
hand, the lashes
a
are
nice
happening.
nice little half lash really makes everything look a thicker eyeliner and a half lash, and we're. Although I will say, I agree with you. I've been looking at myself. It's embarrassing, but I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and every time, and not in the mirror, in the reflection of the thing, and every time I do, I'm like, I think I need to do thicker eyeliner.
Too. You look real good. I took a nap like 20 minutes before the show, and so I woke up and I was like, shit. And I did not have the strength to do makeup. So what the trick?
Everything.
That's the trick. The trick is I pull out this, and
it looks beautiful.
And it looks like I put makeup on. So, anyways,
and you did. And who's gonna tell you no?
I'm gonna do my makeup like yours tomorrow. It's not gonna look the same, but I'm gonna try, and then I'm gonna be disappointed. But I'm feeling very inspired. So,
no, you're gonna look beautiful. You always do. $5 from PT Colin. The only thing I worship is Sleep Token. If you know, you know. I don't know what that. I don't know.
Okay, so this is so embarrassing because I do know what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever actually listened to them. We should both add this to our list.
Is it a band?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. And they're really cool. And I'm not going to say more because maybe I'm confusing them with another band, but I don't think I am. I think they're all anonymous and there's like a lot of escaping from religion undertones kind of thing. But
interesting.
Anyways, yes.
Okay. Love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
10 Australian dollars from Adam D. Toured gum. We are all here for it. My bid for an Australian leg of the tour. Thank you. Bye. Yes.
I've never been to Australia, and I'm ready to come.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I also would like to learn how to do an Australian accent. So if you want to, if anyone wants to like one-on-one tutor me while we do our tour out there, please let me know.
I'll sit in and listen.
Yes. $5 from Alishana Silverbow. Did y'all know that Jimmy Snow has a podcast starting on September 6th?
I hope Jimmy's watching right now and is so happy with all of this.
So proud of us. He should be so proud of us.
The proudest. $20 from Perfects34. Thank you all for the kind words. Without folks like y'all, I'd still be in the cult. Some of you have asked for details. Oh, this must be Xavier, the first caller. So reach out if you want to know more. I plan on writing a book, but I'd tell y'all for free. Love you. That's so great. I love that. Thanks again for calling. Very cool. And thank you so much for the support.
Yes. $5 from Kim. There's something especially creepy about men who prey upon us while we're working, like they know we're trapped and take some sick satisfaction from that. So true.
Yeah, I think that happens. And then also, I get the feeling sometimes some of them, it's funny, when Matt is in the middle of a conversation, I think people think, oh, Matt's working, Matt Delundy. And then if I am, it's like, oh, you're just like hanging out tonight. It's like, I'm literally having the same conversations. This is work.
Right.
This is what I'm doing. So yeah, it's a bad feeling.
Even like people who do jobs in service industries, I wonder too if the women get treated differently than the men do. I don't know if that is true, but like I think of people who are like bartenders and stuff like that, like getting followed home and followed to their car.
And I was hostess and all that, and it was bad vibes because you feel you're getting tipped. And I was a young girl when I was doing this, so I feel like so many times I was being nice to guys that were being absolutely disgusting because I felt like I had to because, well, there's my money for the night. So really gross. Thanks, Kim.
I even feel like that experience is not even like a gendered one. It's like people in service industries in general get like followed to their car and whatever.
Yeah, it's true. $10 from Shelly Marie. Just because you're advertising a sex toy does not make you open game. I'm sure those guys would never think it's appropriate or have the guts to ask the salesperson in a toy shop to give them a demo. Very good point. Thank you. Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. It still just makes me so mad.
And it's also, it's interesting that people got like so offended by that and they were like, I'm unfollowing. Blah, blah, blah. Like it's so hard
also,
to literally
announcing it is hilarious. Like unfollow me, that's fine. But announcing it is extra funny.
Respectfully, you're a nerd. Like, okay, you needed to tell me about it. Okay.
But I always comment when I see that people say that. because I'm like, well, thank you so much for giving me some engagement on my post before you
Right. Yeah. On
leave.
your way
And then
out.
and then they're like, well, why are you even responding? You're a snowflake. I'm like, yes, my feelings are so hurt. That's why I'm still conversing with you right now.
Right.
I promise I'll
exactly.
be okay. But
Right.
it does help. It does help the algorithm when you comment. So
It does. $5 from Alishana Silver Bow. I always say silver bowl, and that's just simply not right. Is butt cheeks one word, or should I spread them apart? That's really silly.
good. That's really good.
I actually wonder. Do you want to know what's a really embarrassing? You know, there's like random things that
I do
that
want
you
to know.
just are like that are like gaps in your knowledge. I only like really realized that good night was 2 separate words like a year ago. I was spelling it without a space, like just good night, like it was one word.
Now
my
you have
whole
me
life.
questioning if no, but I think it. Stop.
Because
Stop.
and part of it was I
is
looked
one
up that
word.
book, Good Night Moon, and I think they spell it as
And it
2
is
separate
one word.
words.
No,
It
they
is?
don't. It's one word. It's one word. And and it's not
Is it?
autocorrecting. It's one word. What are you even talking about, Alyssa? You're terrifying me for nothing.
Wait. Good night. Wait, hold on. Versus the amount of times that I type something like this into my phone where it's like the stupid way that I do it versus the way that I think that it might actually be right.
But I think colloquially, isn't it good night now? Is this in the dictionary? That's how we find out.
Good space night is the standard spelling, while good night without the space is an informal alternative. Both expressions are used to say goodbye or wish someone well. Okay, so I guess like both are technically
informal
right.
alternative. We're just alt girls. That's fine. $50. Wow, thank you. $50 from Red Streck. If you could flow on this, what mechanism facilitates salvation via childbirth? Does Yahweh see a placenta as similar to Jesus? Wow, hold on. I have to read this and process now that we're going from is good night 2 words to this. If you could flow, what mechanism facilitates salvation via childbirth?
What mechanism? Via childbirth?
I understand what's being asked, but I'm just trying to see how you're associating with salvation via childbirth. Does Yahweh see a placenta as similar to Jesus? Now I have to look in the comments to see what we're missing, because now my brain is clearly just fried. We're still talking about good night in the comments. I really want to comment on what you're saying here, but now I need.
Always asking the hard-hitting questions over here on this.
Alyssa. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Red Trek. Thank you so much. I'm going to respond to it once if somebody will clarify in the comments what I'm missing, because I know I'm just reading this sentence in a funny way and it's not computing in my. Immaculate Conception reference. Thank you. Yeah, I gotcha. No, it's all wild, and that is a great speculation on the placenta and all. It's just weird when you really start thinking about the idea of Jesus being the son of a God, and Mary getting knocked up by God and then giving birth to, I don't know, the whole thing is just absolutely wild. And then dying, and you're supposed to eat his flesh and drink his blood, and all, like, things just get really weird immediately. So anyways,
it just gives me a big ick. And also thank you for this very, very generous donation.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It.
Sorry that it came to us at the time of the night when our brains are trying to determine if good night is one word or 2.
Yeah, we're at brain rot hour, but we're trying. We're trying. I'm so bad at reading currency. That's another
Euros.
like good night moment for me.
I do happen to know that those are euros. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because 5 euros from Ectril Poe. Is that right? I apologize if I said that wrong. I feel like that's right. Determinism gives me optimism. Every choice I made was the best choice possible because I had no choice otherwise.
That is a great way to put it.
That's a great way to put it. I love that.
That's really good.
Wow, I'm going to be thinking about that all night.
Thanks, Ectril.
And not thinking about good night with a space or not a space. Because we solved that tonight.
Right, we did. 10 pounds from Herbie Shine. Hi, Herbie. Robert Sapolsky has recently released a book on free will. Oh, interesting. I haven't read it, but the interviews he's done talking about the book and the ideas have been really interesting. Thanks for the show again. Thank you for that. I'm writing that down because that sounds fascinating, especially if I can listen to interviews before I determine if I want to actually attempt to read a book or not.
$5 Canadian from Ghosty 100. Eve, I'm sorry. Please let me out of the vent. That's funny.
That's so scary, especially that your little image. I'm just picturing that trying to get
Yeah.
out of my vent. I can still
That's
hear
so
whatever is
funny.
happening is still happening. So
Also, one of the comments in the chat was, sup, I'm Jesus. I'm my own cousin. Eat my body.
That was
That's
Jesse
really-
Jerdak, also one of the hosts on the line.
really good.
Oh my God.
Thanks,
I feel like
Jesse.
that's
That's hilarious.
I feel like such a jerk because I don't always recognize everyone's like names like that. Like I need to see everyone in their thumbnail.
We need a hang out time, all of us. Wouldn't that be fun?
I would
$10
love that.
from Chris. Studying determinism has helped me develop more compassion and understanding for myself, knowing that I'm always doing the best you can with what you have. #death. Yes, that's a beautiful way to say it too. I love that. Also,
That's-
#death. We should be having merch for that soon. We were talking
We've
about
been
it
saying
the
that
other day,
for like 2 months. We really should. And also, that's one of the things I've said that to my coaching clients a million times, and I've said that even just like giving advice to people in general, like friends and whatever. That you're always making the decisions that you are with the information you have at the time. And so, like you said, it just helps. It helps to bring compassion and understanding to the choices that you're making because. Even I think when I reflect on people analyzing the relationships that they had with their parents or the way that their parents raised them, it's similarly they were doing the best they could with the information they had at the time.
Yep.
That was a fly.
In your room. Oh, in my room. Is it in yours or mine? There's one right here.
Mine. Oh my God.
There's one right here.
It's brain rot time. Woo!
But that is actually happening. There is actually
That
a
is
fly in
real.
here.
Yeah, there's one in here too.
Okay, cool. Well, look at us.
$5 from Alishana Silverbow. If I am the emergent properties of my physical body, then any decision my brain makes, regardless of consciousness or free will, is a decision I made. I agree.
Yep. That's beautiful. You guys are saying this all so much better than we said earlier. 10 pounds from Herbie Shine. Thank you again, Herbie. The amount of sexist, misogynistic, objectifying comments aimed at Eve on her Facebook is really quite astonishing and horrifying. The anger these people use when they are called out is shocking and baffling. Yeah. Yep. Well, and Herbie is amazing. They're always over on my Facebook in the comments saying very insightful things, and also like what Jimmy did the other night, just being a good ally, like pointing out, hey, that's like, why would you do that? My favorite is Herbie will go, and a lot of times somebody will, I think I saw today, somebody just left a comment and it just said like hot or something like that. And Herbie just comments the vomit emoji. And I love it so much because it's just like the perfect way to point out like what a fucking stupid, pointless comment. And then
like, yeah.
Anyways.
That's
so great.
nuts.
Thank you, Herbie. It's really gross.
$4.99 from Donkey Butt. It's hilarious. Where do y'all think the toxic perspective towards women came from? Specifically, the thing Eve mentioned earlier about the post she made. Thanks. OBJ, I don't know what that was supposed to be.
Where does it come from? I mean, who knows? It's different things. I think it's just generally been part of culture to objectify and treat women like more of an object and more of a tool in life instead of an equal human.
It just makes people feel better to put other people down, and I think it just like validates themselves in some way. And I think there's a part of it that's like, that is the having the screen between every communication that we're having. So there's a level of like bravery and confidence that these people have, and I think because they just know that you're not ever going to face them in person, they feel especially brave. I think talking about just sex stuff in general makes people feel really uncomfortable, and when they're uncomfortable, I guess that's something that they're leaning on, is to just be gross and toxic and just say icky things.
Yeah. Yep. Fun times. Thanks, Donkey Butt. $10 from Riot and Shipwright. You both are incredible people and should be proud of all the help you've given. Alyssa, how did you start your career? That's so sweet.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Alyssa, tell us.
I moved to LA and I got a job assisting a sex coach during the pandemic because I just needed a job. And I saw the work that she was doing and I just loved it. And so I got cast on a show called The Circle. And when I went on the show, they like really wanted to push the like working with a sex coach, working in the sex industry, like all that kind of stuff. And so I knew when the show aired, I knew already that I wanted to like work in that and I wanted to learn how to do that and do the training. But I knew I wanted to do it before the show aired because then I would also have this platform and all this kind of stuff. So I got the platform from doing the show, and the like message behind my platform and the tone behind my platform has been because I was doing the show and I was an assistant to this sex coach at the time. But while in the in-between period of shooting and having the show air, I started doing all of my training, which has taken me a long time. It's a really long process, but I am still very committed to doing it. So that I'll be an ASECT certified sex educator and a sex coach. And so I started my coaching, my actual one-on-one coaching that I do. And I still am I'm actually accepting clients. So if you ever want to do one-on-one coaching, you can go to my little link in bio and you can check that out there. But I started doing that only in the past like couple of months because I'm almost done with the actual education portion of my certification. And so I felt comfortable being able to do that because I have to do like a presentation and like a whole bunch of other stuff before I actually get my certification. Anyways, it's a long, long thing. But the long and short of it is I worked for a woman who was a sex coach, and it like changed my whole life, changed my whole perspective. And so then I started pursuing the education on my own so that I could do it and share the things that I learned, because I could not believe that I was at the time 27 years old and was learning all these things for the very first time.
I love that so much. And you're amazing at it. You're an excellent communicator.
Thank you.
I love your insight on all of this.
Thank you.
$5 from JamNick06. I'd love any type of #dath merch. Also, sarcasm incoming. It'd be so hot if Eve showed us how to use it. I will wear the shirts. Don't worry. Love y'all. The line community rocks. I will wear the hats, the shirts, all of the things. Maybe even Alyssa will do that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna be wearing everything. Are you kidding me? It'll be the first time I actually have merch. I'll be head to toe. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Eve, you need to watch Spice World like tomorrow. Also, I had a big old crush on Posh as a young man. Great show. Y'all doing anything on September 6th?
I'm gonna be listening to Jimmy Snow Has a Podcast personally on September 6th.
I wonder what time the episode's going to drop, actually. We should find out. I'm curious.
Good question.
I'll just be refreshing my screen over and over again until it does. Also, you should watch Spice World. It's surprisingly very hard to find the last time I went looking for it, which was not that long ago. So
interesting. Okay,
you might need to do some digging, but it's worth it. It's good little.
I'm gonna read Robert Sapolsky's book on free will, and I'm gonna watch Spice World, and that's my homework from this episode, guys. And that's why I love this show.
Yeah, I feel like you could very easily attribute who gave you which assignment.
It's perfect. It's amazing.
My God.
$5 from. Have I just been reading these? No, you read the last one. Okay, brain rot. $5 from Misha Barto. Oh, yes, I know this one. You should read this, Alyssa, because you're the one that's really into this.
Rise Up. Rise Up Lights. You just said razor blades with a. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Rise Up Lights. That's so funny.
That's really cute. Australian accent is cute on you.
Rise Up Lights. Oh my God.
That's
I can't take that. I can't even I can't take that seriously now because people are watching me, but I'm going to be like taking a shower later and just be like, Rise Up Lights.
Rise Up
just
Lights. Rise Up Lights.
That's so funny. Oh, I love it.
Oh,
Thanks,
Misha. That's really good.
Oh my God.
$5. Oh, no, this one is, well, I made you read the last one. Now I'll do it. Whatever. $5 from SJL. No idea for tour name, but a collection of shorts called Chiclets, as in the tiny gum. A cute idea spoiled by the first syllable.
That's
Chiclets
so
for tiny.
cute.
Oh, that's adorable.
Chiclets
Thanks,
is
SJL.
so cute.
That's really cute.
That's
I don't know why I like that
adorable.
word a lot.
Chiclets?
Yeah, just it's fun to say. Chiclets.
It is fun to say. $10 from Mahalia Yaga. I think I'm saying that right. I do believe you're quite valid in your response to the adult toy posts. I would encourage an intentional misunderstanding and post vids using it as mixer for paint and such. That's really funny. There's an account actually. It's a brand of toys, and the brand is called Unbound. And the woman who runs their social media account does stuff like that, and it cracks me up. Like, she recently did a TikTok that where she went through their entire line of toys, and there was a toy that she was like, all of the products that we offer at Unbound, and one of them was like a wand massager, and she was like a neck massager, and just like using it like this.
That's
and then
amazing.
one was like a suction toy, I think similar to the one that you were holding. And she's like a pore extractor, and she's just like or like a forehead kisser, and she's like holding it to her. It's just
That's
so
amazing.
Funny. Yeah, I
That's
love that.
so
I love
great.
that concept.
I've seen where they like use it on fruit and stuff, which I think is an actually cool way to demonstrate how those things actually work. But that's too funny. Thanks, Mahalia. Thank you guys so much. It was so fun to be back with everybody. And Alyssa and I will be back here next week.
Yes, we will.
In the meantime,
I can't wait.
hopefully we can announce the merch next week. Oh, it's Jimmy!
I feel like a celebrity just came in here. I'm sweating. Hi, Jimmy.
Know. Is he in the chat right now? $10 from Jimmy Snow. Jimmy Snow has a podcast and is probably about to redirect everyone to a preview after the show is done. Oh, don't end for like 5 more minutes. Okay, well, we can.
Okay.
We can hang.
What should we talk about?
We can absolutely still. Oh, Jimmy's in the chat yelling, no, wait, don't end.
Oh my God. Hi.
Do you want to hear some of my comments? This is actually funny. Do you guys want to hear some of the comments that I've gotten lately? Let me pull up my handy dandy phone, not notebook this time because I did not go write these down. It's funny because last night we had some friends over, and we all work on social media in some capacity or the other. And I started like they were talking about getting bad comments, and 2 of them were guys, and they were talking about how they get like some hate comments or whatever. And I start reading mine, and they're like, holy shit, these are so much worse. And then my other friend, she's a woman, she also gets like the worst comments ever. So it was really funny how different, like, women really get some awful shit. Okay, so here's some of my comments. These are absolutely beautiful. Okay.
These are absolutely beautiful. Is this on Instagram
this is not
or
that
Facebook?
Bad. All of the things. I just screenshot them when it's something especially is funny. This is why women are not allowed to speak in church. You're delusional and seeking attention, and no one gives a shit. You would do well to remain silent. How about making me a sandwich? Oh my God. The devil is in her mouth. She's going to hell faster every video she makes. Not a smart female. And she has demons in her. Demons. Demented garbage woman.
Demented garbage woman.
Which is really good.
That's really funny.
Then this one, good God, who cares? Give the homely a camera and they'll bore you for hours. Which this was commented on like a 5-second video, but okay.
That's also crazy because obviously you're beautiful, and also you have literally also gotten comments of people sexualizing you. So it's like
this one is my favorite comment I think that I've ever gotten. Congratulations on your graduation into whoredom. Just really nice.
I wish that there could be that. I wish you could just like make merch like it was nothing. Cause like a shirt that was just like a University of Whoredom would just the way it would just make my heart
That would
soar.
be funny. I should make a little
Like,
shirt
could you
like
imagine
that.
going to Target and just being like, I just need deodorant.
I graduated
Stop.
from the University of Whoredom. Yeah, it's fine. €5 from Palfly. Maybe read more super chats. Okay, I think we had a couple more come in.
If we have, did we?
Maybe we did. If not,
Just
don't worry.
that
I've
one
got
so
way
far.
more. Oh,
Just that
guys,
one so
come on.
far.
Now I'm embarrassed because now I look like an idiot. Okay, I do have more.
Eve, I'd
Let's
like you
see.
to know that I literally asked out loud. I said out loud that I was confused about the good night thing, and then we debated that back and forth. So I think our audience is really not very judgmental of us, which is super nice.
That's fair.
Anyway, okay,
that's really fair.
Let's read more of your comments. I want to hear them. Also, it's crazy that you get comments like that because when someone is even like a little bit like makes me like gives me a little bit of an like that ick feeling of like, oh, I hate it when they say something mean like that. I'll just delete the comment because I'm like, this is my platform and I just don't need, if it makes me upset,
Yeah.
I'm deleting it.
Sure.
And yeah, and it's one thing like when it's in this space. And actually there's someone who was going back and forth with me in the comments of one of my videos and he didn't follow me, but would go onto my account regularly and just comment on my videos. And I responded to him at some point and I was like, babe, you're a fan. You should at least follow me. Like, why you just like check in on me regularly, you weirdo.
That's
and then
amazing.
he kept commenting. And then after a while I was like, why am I doing this? And then he said something about how I created a vacuum for myself and I only want to talk to people who agree with me. And I was like, I literally do a live show every Tuesday where people can I invite people
Actually
who disagree
talk
with
to
me
you. Yes.
to call.
I get told
And then he's
that
like, yeah,
all the
and then-
time.
Yeah. And then he said something about how
We're
like
all
we
set.
what happened. Oh, you are?
Oh,
Okay, wait.
okay.
Let's read this one super chat and then we'll move on. Okay, anyways, if people annoy me, I will block or delete them.
I love that about you. I just sit there
I
and
don't have the time.
take it.
Or the
But I
mental
have
health.
to read this last comment real quick because it's so funny to me.
Yes.
It says, I can see the pure evil in her face. This woman is the work of Satan. God bless Trump. God bless America.
No.
So
Wow, that's
clearly I'm dealing
a
with some
double whammy.
very amazing people here.
Wow.
But yes, let's get through
Wow.
these. Okay, your turn.
Okay, $10 from Jason?
Hison,
Okay.
maybe.
Got here late, but this is for the demented garbage woman. That is hilarious. Demented garbage woman.
Thank you.
Is so funny.
$5 from Aaliyah Shauna Silverbow. You're not an idiot. Look, more super chats. # death. Thank you. Thanks for making me look less bad.
$5 from Monkey a Typewriter, a associate's degree from the University of Whoredom, graduated some cum loudly, major in demonic studies with a minor in French. I love
That's
it. Thank
really
you for
good.
matching.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you for matching our energy today, you guys. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you guys are the best. Oh, $5 from Jimmy Snow. Okay, I'm ready. Well, maybe we're not because I think we have a couple more super chats.
Do
And
we?
then, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Or one.
We
Yeah.
actually do.
Oh. $5 from Jolene. Eve, I need to know the brand shade of your lipstick. New sub. CG was the first live show I watched and I knew I found my people. Oh, thank you. Love that so much. It is, I happen to have it right here. It is the Maybelline Superstay Vinyl in the shade 55.
Ooh,
And I
cute.
actually love this stuff. As you can see, it stays on really well. This shade is really dark in person. Something's off with
It
my
looks
lighting. I'm actually not
pretty.
this pale in real life, and it's less red. It's a little darker, but they have a lot of shades. If you get this, shake it very hard because it does not work right if you don't. It has to become emulsified. So, anyways.
Okay. Good to know.
Thank you guys so much. Jimmy Snow has a podcast September 6th. We've loved hanging out with you guys. And Morgan, thank you for being the best producer and for also screening calls for us tonight. Shout out to all our mods and in the chat and all of you for hanging out with us tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Was that purposeful? See you next
I don't know.
Tuesday?
I mean, it worked.
We've been doing this for so long and I just realized that.